Hey guys, how you doing? Welcome to another episode of A Drummer's Guide to. Whilst I look like a fisherman, I think, but yeah, like one of those ones off an advert for fish fingers or something. It's a little bit strange, but I'm gonna own it. It's fine. Bring in the fish. That's all I can say. So this week, I want to let you in on my world of mentalness. And that is how I prepare for and survive rehearsals. So the reason that I decided to talk about this is because I've just finished a little set of rehearsals, and it suddenly dawned on me that the way that I deal with them might not be normal, but it really works for me. So I don't know. I've developed this over many years, obviously, and a lot of trial and error, like a lot of trial and error. And I'm not talking about the playing side of things, and I will touch on that, but I'm talking about all the other stuff that surrounds it. Because for me, rehearsals are quite an intense period, and it might be literally like a day of rehearsals, which is one thing, but equally it might be like 2 weeks of rehearsals, and that is, oh my gosh, I don't actually enjoy rehearsals, generally speaking. I find them quite difficult, just in terms of prolonged amount of concentration, and usually there's a lot of sitting around and waiting for people to get sounds and stuff like that. There are other situations that I've been in recently where it's not like that. It's very bang, 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 very quick, very on it. Everyone's like really together, and they have been my favourite rehearsals ever, because I just am like, oh my gosh, this is brilliant. Things are moving all the time. It's really inspiring. So anyway, so let's just get straight into it, because it's, you know, I ramble enough as it is, and bless you, you've come here to watch a video about getting ready for rehearsals. So first things first, let's just, you know, get this out of the way. Obviously, and I say obviously, but maybe it isn't obvious, I don't know, in my head, obviously, the playing side of things, you need to know the material of what you're about to go into rehearsals to rehearse. So whether that be, you know, a bunch of songs, or maybe it's, I mean, it really depends on the gig, because sometimes, okay, so let's talk about Kim Wilde. There are a set amount of songs. In fact, I'm about to go into rehearsals in a month's time. There are a set of, like, I think it's 30 songs, something like that. I need to know that I need to know all those songs. And that's not to say that they're not going to evolve in a certain way, which I know that they will, but you need that baseline where everyone's starting from the same point. Right, we all have learnt this version of this song. Right, where do we go from there? Perfect, great. Equally, you know, with Tricky, when I was working with him, that was a very different set of rehearsals. It was literally like, you just need to know the sections of the songs. You don't need to know the structure, because that changes every night, every show, because he's just going on the fly, and it's just the way he works. Fine. With the Voice Kids, it was like, well, I mean, you can listen to the songs, but they're not going to be what they actually are, because we're going to do a version of them. And that's not to say that they're definitely not going to be the same structure that you know. They're probably not even going to be the same style that you know, but what you do need to know is how to read. So I just knew that I needed to know how to read really well, and that would kind of get me through. So you just need to be able to have done the absolute most you can with the knowledge that you have, that is in your control, basically. Anything aside from that, I always just tell myself, that is what rehearsals are for. They're there to shape it up into what it needs to be. But everything that I have control over, I will make sure that I know inside and out, and I will know, I will know it to the best that I can. And I've talked in other videos about how I do that. So either you've seen that and I won't go into it, or you can look that up. That's absolutely fine. And I'm sure I'll be doing plenty of other videos about stuff like that. So right, that's that out of the way. So that's the baseline. Let's talk about everything surrounding it. So the first thing that I'd say is that when I get in a set of rehearsals, the first thing I do is I look at the period of time that the rehearsals are, and then I find out, or I understand, or I look at what I'm going to need to learn by the time that first day hits. So, as I said, for Kim, in a couple of months, it's going to be 30 songs. I will need to know 30 songs. I know that I will need to know them from a drum point of view. I know that I need to know them from an electronics point of view. I know that I will need to do programming for it. Which also means find sounds for the songs, and there's all this other stuff that goes into it. And it's like, right, okay, I know that I need to do all that. And then I work backwards. So the first thing I do is that, say the first day of rehearsals on a Monday, that Sunday, and hopefully the Saturday too, I strike them off as days off. They have to be, if I have the time, they have to be days of rest for me so that I come at rehearsals with a fresh head. Perfect. Great. So working back, like I say, for the Kim thing, I was like, I want to be comfortable. This is the other thing. I used to be the person that would cram stuff in. Like, I remember doing the Cher Lloyd rehearsals, and I remember being so stressed out because I'd only given myself like 4 days, and it was just because that's how it panned out with other work and stuff, the commitments that I had. But now I'm like, right, I want to be in control of this. I want to give myself time so that I only spend a few hours a day on stuff, and then I spend the rest of the day relaxing or doing other things like, I don't know, cooking or going for a nice walk or something like that, like having some sort of work-life balance. I'm still working on it, but at least the intention is there. So for me, I know I've got to do all that work. I've left myself 2 weeks, and I'm talking 2 completely free weeks that I can then put a plan in place to get all those things done in a very, what's the word? I was going to say refined, not refined and not relaxed. I mean, sort of relaxed, but in a very, I don't know. It's just got a lot of space around it. So I'm not going to be stressed out, and I'm going to be, I'm not going to kill myself over it, but it's going to get done, and it's going to get done well, and that is the main thing. So that is the first thing I do. I make sure that I give myself what I think I need and then some, just so that there is a bit of a buffer. Things happen as well. Life happens. There's things that you cannot control in this life. So if you can just try and put in a bit of extra time. It's like when you leave to go somewhere. Say it takes you an hour to get something according to Waze or Google Maps or whatever. I will always leave like another half an hour, that's just me, just in case, because there might be traffic, there might be a crash. I mean, hopefully not, but you don't know what's going to happen. So you've got to kind of like, just have that in your head that things happen. So therefore, okay, I think I'm going to need a week, but let's just put on an extra few days, and then, I'm going to be so prepared that I'm going to actually maybe even get an extra day to relax. Who knows? So that's the first thing that I do. I just make sure that I have ample time before rehearsals start to make sure that I'm ready for that first day when it hits. The next thing that I do, again, this might seem slightly odd, but it's fine. If you've watched any other videos of mine, you know that I exercise. So at the moment, my current regime is to do some yoga in the morning, and then also I'm trying doing meditation, which is quite interesting. I'm quite enjoying it. It's my brain. I mean, I know that I talk a lot and ramble a lot. Can you imagine what it's like in my brain? So I think meditation is probably a good thing for me. So I'm trying it, and it's interesting. So I do that every morning at the moment. So what I also do is I start thinking about, right, so rehearsals. On that first day, I know that we're going to be starting rehearsals at 10 in the morning. So I'm talking about Kim right now because it's just in my head right now. So I know we're going to be starting a rehearsals 10 o'clock in the morning. I know that I'm going to have to leave my house at 9 o'clock in the morning. Okay, great. So I want to make sure that I've done an hour of exercise before I leave the house. Okay, so an hour, and then I'm going to need a shower, obviously, because that's gross. So that's another half hour, and then I'm probably going to need half hour to prep what I'm going to talk about next. So that means that, okay, working back, that means that I need to be up at 7. Well, let's just say I'm probably going to be knackered from the day before, so maybe I should be getting up at 6:30 for rehearsals. What I will do in these 2 weeks is whatever time I've been getting up at, like for instance this morning, I was exhausted. I didn't even wake up until 8 o'clock. That's ridiculous. So I will gradually work back, say in half-hour increments. I won't like kill myself over it, but I'll be like, okay, so today I woke up at 8 o'clock and did all my stuff, and then I came into the studio to record these videos. Okay, so tomorrow I will set my alarm for 7:30. Okay, cool. All right, so next day, 7:30, get up, do my thing, everything happens half an hour early, next day, 7 o'clock, blah, blah, blah. Until you get to the 6:30, and then that becomes the norm. So every day I'm waking up at 6:30 whilst I'm rehearsing, like practicing rather, for these Kim Wilde rehearsals. Great. And what that means is by the time we get to rehearsals, I'm waking up at 6:30 anyway, I'm still exercising every day, and I'm feeling good about it, because I think if you can have exercise in your regime, for anything really, For me personally, I can only talk about me personally, it makes a massive difference, and I hate to admit that, but in fact, do you know what? I don't care anymore. It does, and it's great, and I love it, and I definitely feel it if I don't. In fact, I had rehearsals 2 days ago for The Voice Kids, and I didn't exercise in the morning, and it hit like 3 o'clock, and I was like, oh, I feel exhausted. And the day before, I was fine because I'd exercised in the morning. I know these things, and yet I don't do them. But anyway, so yeah, that's another thing that I'll do. So I'll work back. So I start starting my day at the time that I will be starting my day during rehearsal, so it becomes normalised. I have this big thing about things being normalised, but I'll ramble more about that another time. So another thing that I also think is really important is food and nutrition, because if there's one thing in rehearsals, it's so easy to eat rubbish food, and I've done that for years, like years and years and years. I would just not even think about it, go into rehearsals and just basically live off of things like crisps and chocolate and cans of Coke, so that I would just have that sugar hit because I was lulling. I'd have low blood sugar or whatever. Oh, quick, I'm just going to go and get a can of Coke. Oh, and now I'm really awake for like 10 minutes, and then I'm going to have another crash. It was awful. It was this awful thing, up and down, up and down. And the other thing is you gain weight, and it's just like you end up feeling gross, and it's just this horrible cycle. So I started being very, what's the word? Not particular. Very purposeful, let's say that, purposeful about what I was eating during rehearsals, and I've continued that for the last couple of years, I suppose, and it's great. It makes the hugest difference. So I mainly will eat for lunch, say, like a soup, which is just packed full of vegetables and nutrients and stuff, and it's not too heavy, because if I eat like heavy food, like a lot of rice or whatever, then I feel very lethargic, I have a massive dip. So I know that about myself. It's just something that I've worked out, if you know what I mean. So you need to work out what's right for you, because it might not be the same for you at all, but I know that about me. So therefore, having a soup really works for me, and then a bunch of vegetables, and then like a salad or something, and some fresh fruit. That's what I've been doing recently, and do you know what? I just feel great for it. I feel amazing. There are some drawbacks with this, because in rehearsals, lunchtime rolls around, or dinner time or whatever, and it is a very sociable time. So sometimes I do forego, going and hanging out and just chatting rubbish with the rest of the band, but it's okay, because equally sometimes it's nice to have some time to yourself just to recharge, and just relax and just breathe and just be like, okay, cool, all right, we're going to go into another 4 hours of this, and just get your head back straight, which is fine. Equally, sometimes, like, when was it? A few weeks ago, whenever that was, lads were like, quite fancy jerk chicken for lunch, and I'm like, well, you've just said the golden words. Well, forget about my lunch. I'll come have jerk chicken with you, because that's really fun. Or I will come and sit with them for lunch and just have some water, and then just eat my food when we get back to the rehearsal room, just like quickly or whatever. So it doesn't need to be one or the other. It can be a mixture of two, or three. But I think that if you have that intention of eating well, it really puts you in a good place. Equally, so what I do, and this is part of my chilling out day, so those 2 days that I make sure, one day at least, that I have before rehearsals start, I generally spend it cooking, because I love cooking and it really relaxes me. So I make, I meal prep, I suppose, make bulk sort of amounts of things, so whether that be soup, or basically soup for my lunches, and then other stuff that I can then freeze, and when I get home, when I'm exhausted, I just shove it in the microwave, and that's it, I'm done. I can just eat that and then go and relax or go to bed or whatever it is. So I kind of prepare ahead to think about, okay, I know at the end of rehearsals I'm going to feel exhausted, and what am I going to want to do? I'm going to be in the car. I know that I'm going to be driving past a McDonald's on my way home, and I know that if there's nothing in the freezer ready to go, or nothing quick, I'm going to be like, I'll just go to the drive-thru, and then you eat that, and then you feel rubbish, and then the next day, and then you might, oversleep a little bit because I'm just knackered and lethargic, and then you don't work out, and it becomes this horrible cycle. So you've got to try and give yourself the best chance possible. Do you know what I mean? I know I do, because I'm so easy at talking myself out of things. I'm not easy at it. I'm good at it. I'm so good at it. But I know that about me, so therefore, I need the solution to be so easy and so simple with so many upsides that I'd be crazy to do anything else. And admittedly, I still do other things sometimes, but you know, nobody's perfect. The other thing that I make sure that I try and do at least, although, as I say, by the time I get home from a day of rehearsals, I'm so exhausted, I literally eat and crash. But I will also try and like put in little like rewards for myself. I'm big on this, and it might be something simple like, I don't know, maybe it is like a chocolate bar or something after my dinner, or you know, a bit of chocolate. Oh, nice. Just make sure you don't eat the whole thing, Emily. If it's a big bar, don't eat all the bar, and if it's a thing of like Ferrero Rocher, don't eat the whole thing. Just have one. I'm not good at that. I indulge when I sort of, you open the floodgates and it's like woo. That, or something like, I don't know, having a bath, or I remember what rehearsals were those? The Voice Kids, I think. My reward was being able to watch an episode of RuPaul's Drag Race. That was my reward. So having those little rewards to look forward to and be able to just relax and just go, yes, I've done another day. We've done good stuff. The show is coming together. Whatever it is, to have those moments really help a lot with the whole journey of being in rehearsals and all that sort of stuff. The final thing that I would say also is to give yourself a couple of days after your rehearsals finish, if you can. Sometimes you're going straight on the road and that's a different kettle of fish, but if you can give yourself a couple of days after your rehearsals finish, even if it is just like 2 days, and I'm kind of speaking to myself here because I finished some rehearsals recently and I didn't give myself the 2 days, and I should have done, because yesterday, which was Monday, I felt awful. I was just like, I just want to eat rubbish, and I didn't work out, and it was just one of those days where I was like, yeah, I should have taken today off. I did work all day and I shouldn't have done that. And as I say, we're all still learning. I'm still learning what works for me. I know what works for me, I just need to listen to myself. Anyway, as you can tell, a lot of my life is having conversations with myself and telling myself off, but there we go. Okay, right, so that is basically my play-by-play plan of how I deal with rehearsals. I don't think... Oh! One other thing. I put this in another video that I did last week. I don't know if you've seen it. One of the biggest revelations for me ever in rehearsals is one of these! A water bottle that I'm just constantly chugging water, because dehydration is such a nightmare in those situations. And it is like, honestly, I can be feeling like, I can have a moment of like, whew, I feel really tired all of a sudden, blah 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 blah, and I'll just chug a bunch of water, like, I don't know, 500ml or whatever you work in your country, like half of one of these bottles, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh, I feel fine, and actually I was just dehydrating. It's absolutely fine. Same as if I'm really hungry, drink some water, you'll be fine, and then I'm fine, and then it's all good. But yeah, water is like, I love water. I've always loved water, but yeah, it is pretty awesome. Anyway, right, I'm going to go. I'm going to love you. I'm going to leave you. I hope this helps. If you have got rehearsals coming up, then I hope they go well. And I hope you've allotted enough time to get what you need to get done, but in a nice, chilled manner, not a stressed one like I used to. I was the kid that, I shouldn't admit this, and don't do this if you are in school right now. I was the kid that would not really... I'd revise a little bit, but I'd revise like loads the night before a test and just about scrape through maybe. And I kind of took that attitude to my drumming career for a long time. And although it worked and it was fine, and actually it gave me a whole bunch of other skills that I'm very good at, consequently, as it turns out, life is much nicer if you're kinder to yourself in terms of time and stress, and yeah, who knew? Not me. I do now though. Well, I'm still learning, but we're all still learning. Anyway, right, I'm going to go. I'm starting to get a bit weird. All right, I'm going to love you. I'm going to leave you. I will see you next week for another topic. I have no idea what it's going to be. In fact, if you have any suggestions yourself, stick them in the comments below. But I will see you again. All right, lots of love, you guys. Hope you're well. Mwah. I'll see you later.
Bye.